Welcome to episode 3 of the Business of Universal Kindness podcast. Today, my guest is none other than Chlöe Luxton of Bramley. From a small kitchen table, she has grown her natural bath and body company into a successful brand that is stocked by Fortnum & Masons, as well as over 500 top boutique hotels and guest houses. With a passion for embracing what nature has provided, she uniquely crafts every product to be a hero within its own category. Stay tuned to find out more about how she has grown her brand organically over the past 10 years and the challenges she's faced along the way. What if the smallest decisions we make as business owners and consumers could have a lasting impact in the world? This is what we question here at the Business of Universal Kindness podcast. If you're curious about living more naturally by choosing products that are kind to humans, the planet, and the creatures that we share it with, then keep listening. And if you're operating a business that creates these types of products, then pull up a chair because we're about to find out what it takes to build a company that makes money and does some good in the world too. I'm your host, Sarah Henson, email strategist to mission-driven e-commerce companies. Join me on this journey as we explore what it means to take radical responsibility for our choices while also making an impact that can change the world. Because universal kindness is everybody's business. Well, hello, Chlöe. Thank you for joining me on the Business of Universal Kindness podcast today. Why don't you, normally I start with a bit of a story about, your origins, but I'd like to first start off with a question about your life as a kid. What was it you wanted to be when you grow up?
Oh goodness, what did I want to be when I grew up? Well, there was quite a long time when I was little that it's quite embarrassing actually. I used to say that I wanted to be a model. I don't know why. I don't know why that came into my head. But when I was little, I had such a lovely childhood that we used to live by the sea, and I used to have like this little sort of shop outside my parents' house, which was basically like a pallet sort of set up with a plank on the top, and we used to literally the sort of estuary used to be the other side with the beach, the other side of the road, and so I used to go and collect stones and shells, and then I used to make this flower perfume, which is this hideous concoction, I think, of my mother's sort of, Charlie perfume mixed with some rose petals, and then I sort of tried to evolve it into like just literally being rose petals in this. So I guess it was like rose water, but I don't think it smelled as nice as that. And I used to, charge I think 10p for like a jam jar full of the stuff. And
Oh, wow.
over a couple of years, I think I probably made, I don't know, £2 out of my little stall, but I loved it. So I kind of guess I was destined for a little bit of retail, really.
I was going to say you're an entrepreneur from the start. So, as you grow up then, where did your kind of your career start in terms of where you started working and then transitioned into what you do now?
I studied Italian at university, which obviously has not really got me anywhere, but it was an amazing sort of subject to study, and I spent a year in Italy, and it was amazing. And then when I came back, I sort of got a job. When I graduated from Manchester, I got a job at Paperchase, which was always like a favourite shop, just because of the colours and just I love sort of all that stationery. I think girls go through that phase, don't they?
Yeah.
And so I did 4 years at Paperchase and transferred down from Manchester to London after a bit of a breakup from a boyfriend, and and then got a job at Cowshed, which actually has proven very sort of influential in sort of how I've moved forward.
So, for people who don't know what Cowshed is, can you just explain a
Yes,
little?
so Cowshed it's a bath and body company that
Mm-hmm.
is owned by a company called Soho House. So, I mean, it was quite different from what I've been doing because obviously in Paperchase it was a lot of sort of, cards and stationery. But it was something obviously that I'd always been really interested in the sort of bath and body world. And it was kind of quite a dream come true in that I just literally got chucked in front of a computer, didn't have any handover, and just sort of told to sort of just get on with it, which I did and loved it.
So you didn't actually seek out that kind of role then. It was a job that just came up for you. You weren't seeking to look to find a job in that
No, not
industry.
necessarily. I knew I wanted to stay in retail because I don't know, I just
Mm.
love the sort of thrill of selling stuff. Um, and sort of making people happy. And I just remember being at a friend's and literally looking through. She had an old Evening Standard paper and seeing a job for for a Cowshed, and I was like, oh, I knew about it because Paper Chase was right next door to the Heels head office, a Heels store on Tottenham Court Road. So they're right next door to each other. So I'd seen Cowshed in there, so I knew about it. So I thought, oh, well, I'll just go for it. And yeah, it was great. I mean, it was great in that it was just, I had such autonomy, and it was just like learning, thrown in at the deep end. And but yeah, I mean, it had its stressful times, but it was great. And then obviously, it was still quite a small brand then. And then it sort of then we sort of started the spa side of it. So it was just retail, and then we sort of moved. We opened the Clarendon Cross Bar at in sort of Notting Hill, and then it just became sort of bigger and bigger, especially as Soho House grew, I guess, with all the houses opening. It just got bigger and bigger. So it was a brilliant time. And actually, it was probably one of the best times to be there because it was so exciting. There was so much going on in the company as a whole.
So you were customer facing then?
No, I wasn't. I was sort of in the head office. So basically, I was more retail side than the spas, but there was a slight crossover. You get to sort of go, and especially within the first one that we did, got involved in that. But no, I was much more sort of behind the scenes, which is kind of, and creating the products, which is kind of what I love. That's sort of like the excitement of doing that. And that's what I sort of had at Paper Chase as well, as I sort of started on the shop floor and ended up in head office, doing a lot of the sort of behind the scenes buying and merchandising things. But also, so when I was at Cowshed, that's because I was in the head office, and the head office Cowshed shared with Soho House, because obviously it was owned by the same people. And that's where I met my husband, Charlie, who was sort of Nick Jones's right-hand man at the time. And we had a bit of an office romance that turned into...
Did you have to keep it on the down low?
A little bit, yeah. There was a little bit of that. Yep, definitely. So then we got married, and then we both kind of knew that, Charlie's from Cornwall, I'm from Devon originally. So we both knew that we sort of wanted to move out of London at some point. And actually, Charlie then found this little pub in Wiltshire called the Beckford Arms. I remember him telling me about it. Someone had called him up, and he knew he was looking for a pub to sort of do his own thing. I remember we sort of drove down from London down the M3 and then the A303, and we rocked up at this sort of amazing, you sort of come off the A303, and then you go through this beautiful arch, like an old stone arch, and then you kind of feel like, and then there's a lake, and you feel like you're on private land. And at the end was this pub, and then we sort of looked at it, lovely pub, and then we sort of drove back to London. I remember thinking, oh my goodness, like it's in the middle of nowhere. I don't know if I can do it. But actually, a mile down the road, there's a main line to London, and a co-op and a booth, and lovely, some beautiful independent shops. So yeah, so that's basically how. Yeah, so I met Charlie. So it was very instrumental in us, for me.
Yeah. So you basically then took the leap, gave up your jobs, and started your own business it was like a bed and breakfast pub.
Yeah, so basically it was a pub with rooms. So it had 8 letting rooms. And I kind of always knew that I sort of probably wanted to do my own thing, like business wise. But you never really know what it is you want to do, I guess, until it's staring you in the face. So it kind of just completely made sense for me to sort of take that leap and do my own thing. And the guy I work with, my apothecary guy who makes all my products with me, he's based in Somerset. So it was kind of a natural progression to sort of move to literally on the border of Somerset, and then find this amazing, beautiful pub, and wanting to create beautiful products that reflected the sort of the amazing countryside that it's in, and but also have the naturalness and the essential oils, and the fact that he was local to me now, which just made complete sense to me.
So you knew him before you had the idea for the business?
Yes,
then?
I knew him from Cowshed because he'd helped create the Cowshed. So it was kind of, I guess it was relatively easy for me in that I knew him, and I kind of knew what I wanted and how I wanted the products to be.
So was it always in your mind, or when you were driving back from that pub, thinking, "Oh, it's in the middle of nowhere. I don't know whether this is something we can do." Was it always in the back of your mind that was something that you'd actually create, as like products for your own?
Yeah, I mean, it all happened quite quickly in that we sort of saw the pub. so it all sort of happened actually when we got married in the May, and then Charlie took it over in the June. So it was all very quick, which I kind of felt like actually it's meant to be, because I just had to get on with it. It had been that sort of seed. And actually, I sort of looked around and I thought, what other products could we put in this pub, in the rooms? And it was very much, I mean, Cowshed was quite unique in that it was quite sort of forward thinking on the natural side, but it was very much in its own sort of, in all the Soho House properties, and not sort of any other properties. So when I looked around, it was all very much the White Company or Molton Brown, and so I kind of knew that I didn't want to put any of those in there. I wanted it to be unique. And it's such a beautiful pub, and it's such a special area, where it is. The countryside is so lovely. I just kind of knew that it sort of needed something more. It deserves something more,
Yeah. So I have a vision of you maybe sat in your garage or something, concocting up these products in like a cauldron or something like that.
Like a witch.
Is that how it went, or was it? Yeah.
No, it was slightly more. No, it was basically. I basically went and saw Richard, my apothecary, and sat down and sort of described the pub to him, and described basically what sort of products I wanted and what I wanted to achieve. I wanted them to be natural. I wanted them to reflect the British countryside, but I also wanted them to be, very uplifting as products. With the essential oils that are in there, because I think that's really important. But also equally, I wanted them to be not too expensive, for me to be able to buy them for the pub, because I knew that if I went back to Charlie and went, honey, I found these products, but they're just really expensive, he'd go, no, there's no way. So it was sort of, I had to think about all those different things. And that's basically how the range came up. I mean, it was really small just to start with. It was basically, I wanted, a range that was everything you needed in a sort of hotel room, a pub sort of.
Yeah. To create a very unique experience for your guests, I assume. Then
exactly. And I mean, and that's kind of, I think, part of the success of Bramley is that it was, I knew that I didn't want it to be like a fig range, and so every single product smelled of fig, and I knew that I wanted each product to be like the best product of its kind. So I knew that the essential oils I wanted in the hand cream were like the nourishing ones, the ones that left your hands feeling really soft, but also smelling amazing. But then equally, I knew that I wanted the shampoo to actually work, and the essential oils within them to be like rosemary and lemon, which are really good for sort of cleansing hair. And so the whole basis of the Bramley range is that each product has its own unique essentials within it, but they sort of all tie together with a citrus base. So that was really important to me as well.
So in terms of getting that off the ground for the pub to start with, how much investment of time, energy and money did it take for you to, I'm not asking for specific numbers or anything, but kind of like, was it like a big like business as a separate business?
Well, you know what, I was really lucky. So I basically sort of did it through the pub. So they basically paid for most things, because obviously it was kind of for them. So I was really lucky in that respect. I do appreciate that now, in that actually when I'm talking to people about, doing their own thing, actually the initial startup costs for any sort of product, I mean, when you're looking at the R&D for a new sort of bath and body product like a shampoo, you're looking at about £2,000. So I was very lucky in that I could sort of put that through the pub. And so actually I was really lucky as well that I managed to pull in loads of favours. So the guys who did all the sort of graphic design for me on the labels, I knew from my cowshed days, and I just basically got in touch and said, hi guys, any chance you can help? And then went on to buy, use them for buying my boxes or whatever it was. But they were just amazing, and people would give me their time, which was just really lovely, and I was eternally grateful for that, and very lucky that I sort of built up these relationships with people whilst I'd been at Paper Chase and Cowshed.
Well, that just kind of proves the power of connection and, you know, your network, not necessarily networking, I'm using air quotes, like, you know, trying to, you know, massage people's
No,
relationships to actually get something from them. But if you
yeah,
have a network of people and who are, you know, if you're sharing your mission and idea with them that you're
yeah,
passionate about, that kind of really helps it along, I suppose.
yeah, and you sort of got genuine relationships with them, you know. Sort of,
Mm,
no, I mean, I was really lucky. And I sort of so when I started off, it was very much just for the pub, you know,
yeah.
and you know,
So what was the transition after that then from, you know, just creating your products for the pub, for your guests and everything, and then to taking it en masse?
so it was. I mean, it was quite, you know, it was quite slow. We've been going 10 years, you know, but so
Wow.
in the beginning, I didn't know anyone as well. You know, we moved to this pub in the middle of nowhere, and Charlie was working all hours because that's what you have to do when you have a pub. I mean,
Yeah.
luckily we didn't live in the pub because I think that might have minefield and delivered our
Driven you
relationship.
crazy.
Yeah, he was, you know, working night shifts and working all day, every day, sort of, especially the weekends. And so actually, it was a bit lonely for me. So I sort of discovered with Bramley, you know, there was a little bit. We sold it behind the bar, and I think someone came in and talked about this market that they were doing called the Anonymous Travelling Market, and it was basically just a market that would sort of pop up at different venues sort of around Dorset and Wiltshire and Somerset. And so that's kind of how I got into sort of spreading the word. And I sort of thought, well, I can talk about the pub as well. If no one wants to buy hand cream, I can just basically say, oh, this
Mm.
pub, and, you know, push that as well. And we were lucky that the Beckford Arms had a really good reputation from previous, you know, it's
Yeah.
been a very popular pub in the past. So everyone was interested to know what had happened to it. And then I could just squirt some hand cream in their hands and go, oh, and try this as well. And I'm selling it. Um, and so it sort of gradually, it was a very gradual thing. And then sort of a local shop in Shaftesbury got in touch and said, oh, can I sell it? And then a few other shops did. And then people is because Charlie had been obviously in the hospitality industry in London. He had quite a few friends who were all at that sort of time where, you know, getting away from London for a weekend was fabulous. So they'd all come down for the weekend and hang out at the pub, and they potentially would have their own hotels or pubs or whatever, and would say, hey, you know, oh God, can I have this in my pub, you know, because we need it we need something in the bathrooms. And so that's also how it sort of started to grow, just very
Mm.
slowly, and sort of through word of mouth. And I guess,
Yeah, because you've got your products on your website for general public to buy, but you also have a very large presence, and like you said, in you know,
yeah.
pubs and guest houses in the local. Well, I'm assuming it's like nationwide now, is it?
Yeah, I mean, it is now. I mean, we're in over 500 sort of pubs and hotels and loos,
Mm.
restaurant loos and stuff. And yeah, as I said, it's just sort of grow. I mean, we've been really lucky in that, you know, I've been able to grow the business whilst having 3 children. Um, and and it literally did start off on my kitchen table, and it's just grown at a really nice steady rate. I mean, it hasn't gone crazy through the roof at any point,
Mm.
so it's just been really easy to manage around, you know, my life.
In terms of where you're at now, then,
Yeah.
what does your business look like in terms of how many people you have working with you?
Yeah, so a year ago, I think there were 3 of us, and now there are 6 of us.
Mm. So
So
you've gone through quite a big growth in the last year, then.
yeah, we have. You know, the hotel business side is really strong. Well, it was before, obviously,
Yeah.
coronavirus, and
Yes.
you know, I'm optimistic that it will, you know, it will be fine, and you know, the types of pubs and hotels we're in will be fine because they're all lovely places and people want to go back. So that accounts the wholesale business. The sort of hotels accounts probably about 65% of the business, and then about 30% of the business is online, direct to customer, and then there's sort of a
Mm.
smaller bit in there which is retail. So we're in Fortnum and Mason, we're in quite a few sort of some lovely sort of independents around the country. And we
Mm.
are sort of talking to another sort of national department stores, which I'm
Mm.
hoping, which was all set to go for Mother's Day, and then obviously
obviously the pandemic raised its
But
head.
hopefully that will sort of pick back up after, and
Yeah,
that will sort of potentially take us, to another level of sort of in the retail side of things.
yes.
Um,
So do you feel the COVID pandemic at the moment has been your biggest challenge in your business so far, or is there anything else
yeah.
that has kind of really been
Well,
a
at one
struggle for
point,
you?
I mean, we did literally nearly go bankrupt probably about 5 years ago because we over ordered.
Mm.
We were sort of continuously running out of stock. Um, and so we basically stupidly just thought, right, we're just going to order loads, without really thinking of the cost implications, and suddenly had these huge bills from our manufacturer going, right, you owe us, however much it was. But I mean, I remember, hang on, when was it? It was about, yeah, it probably was about 5 years ago. I remember on my birthday going away to Soho Farmhouse for a weekend with my girlfriends, my school friends, and literally having had a conversation with one of the girl who was working with me at the time, and I was like, so can you tell me how many of those bottles have we got in stock? I think, it was like two different sizes. She told me we had 300,000 bottles, and I remember just having this like moment of like, but we can't sell 300,000 bottles. I mean, that's just like, what are we going to do? And like waking up in the middle of the night, just like, oh my god, it was, one of
Yeah.
those heart
But
in mouth.
I guess your products are do have a long shelf life, I imagine, wouldn't
Well,
they?
relatively, but they're natural, so, I mean,
Yeah,
they do, some of them are 12 months, the oils are 12 months, and yeah, some
yeah.
of them go up to, like, 24 months. And actually, they weren't even these bottles weren't even filled, so it wasn't such a bad thing, but it was just the actual sort of the thought that somewhere there were 300,000 bottles with sort of our name written on them.
Sitting there
Yeah,
waiting.
like, but we managed to get through that. But yes, I mean, in a way, we're lucky with the pandemic that we're going through now in that we sell hand wash. I
Mm.
imagine if we didn't and we were, and I'm sure lots of businesses going through it is really tough.
So is that your bestseller then? I mean, has that always been your
Yeah,
bestseller?
hand wash has always been our bestseller, and I think that's because we're in so many loos around the country,
Yeah,
that actually,
people see
yeah, they
them.
get to try it, and they love it, and it's a really strong, great product. So I think, hopefully that sort of stands us in good stead. And then we actually have
Mm.
just launched, I mean, I've been thinking about it already, about doing a hand sanitizer, but obviously this just sort of sped it up. So we have just launched also a hand sanitizer, which has been amazing.
Yeah, and you've just recently kind of pre-sold that on your side?
Oh, yeah, never do a pre-order. Seriously, never do a pre-order. It's like, and also call Royal Mail. I mean, they're literally trying their best, but it's just a nightmare out there. And I think, parcels taking 2 weeks to go. And what we did is when people ordered, they said they pre-ordered the hand sanitizer, but they could order other products. So what we did,
Mm.
because it was still a week before it was coming in, we thought we'd honour, we'd send out all the products, the other products,
Yeah.
follow on with the hand sanitizer. But literally, I mean, so much.
So that means you're covering all the postage for the second
Yeah,
lot to go
and it was
out.
free delivery anyway, so it was just doubling
Oh,
up on
okay.
everything. Um,
Wow, so quite a few lessons learned
yeah,
and that, but that's I suppose that's how, business goes, isn't it? You know, from the
exactly.
very beginnings,
Yeah.
you learn from mistakes but I guess not all of them are mistakes.
No,
What are some things that you've learned in business that have been a real success for you? If you can think of anything along your journey that's kind of like just worked out right for you.
it's about sort of having sort of good ideas, and I think we learnt from Soho House, both Charlie and I, that it's kind of about giving the customer what they want and almost sort of, I don't know. So, whenever I think of a product design, I always think about what the hotel customer would want, and design it specifically, I guess, with those guys in mind, instead of
Yeah,
just like, everyone goes, oh, please do a face cream, and we might do a face cream, but it's not necessarily what I can sell into the hotels.
yeah.
So it's kind of, so we've recently just, well, actually a year or so ago, we launched Little Bee, which is a children's hair and body wash for which we just did one product. And off the back of that, we're literally just launching a whole new range now, because it's funny because it's in the Dorchester Hotel and the Glen Eagles Hotel, just Little Bee,
Mm.
just that one product. I haven't taken the rest of the range. Um, so we sort of expanded that range to sort of put into those hotels, to like expand it and make it a bit different. So I don't know, what have I learned? I've learned that, you've got to be slightly thinking ahead of the game, trying to keep thinking of new things, and sort of giving customers something maybe a little slightly unexpected that kind of
Hmm.
makes them smile. I don't know. Like our Christmas sets last year, they had a ribbon in them, but the ribbon wasn't just a ribbon, it was actually an elastic hair tie. So, so
Oh,
it's just thinking a little bit ahead and kind of
yeah.
keep it
To surprise and
fresh.
delight your
Yeah,
customers.
and also, keep coming up with new stuff, and keep it interesting and keep it, and we're just launching
Mm,
this month, actually, we just launched Digby, which is our dog wash.
what a great name.
Yeah, thank you. It sort of works on quite a few levels.
Is that taken from the old TV
No,
program?
well, it was kind of because we got Bramley and then we got Little B, and then I was talking to a friend and she was like, "What about Digby?" And I was like, "Oh my God, that kind of works."
Oh, of course,
Yes.
yeah. Very clever.
But again, we're not launching just a dog washer for the hell of it. It's because, we have so many pubs and hotels on our books that are our customers who are dog friendly. We just, what else
Yeah.
can we give to them that is kind of a bit fun and is a really lovely product as well?
So as you've been growing your business over the last 10 years or so, what kind of support have you had in terms of, have you ever hired a mentor or coach or anything like that? Or has it been part of your
Yeah, it's
network?
quite hard actually because on your own, and actually my husband and I, the big arguments really were over Bramley in the beginning. He has a very different way of working and he's very much spreadsheet based, and I'm slightly more creative and slightly messier and sort of slightly more gut, I guess. So his business partner is actually my business partner Dan. He's actually Charlie's business partner in the pub and then my business partner in Bramley, and that actually works really well because it sort of separates us out, but it's also nice to have that sort of sounding board. But we have, in the past couple of years, I think, because we've been so lucky in that Bramley's sort of grown quite sort of organically, um, we have sort of got on board some sort of consultants more, I think, for to sort of talk about where to go with Bramley, um,
Mm,
or talk about sort of our messaging and everything. And actually, they're all really, really interesting. And but what you sort of realise is you kind of know what they're going to say and where you need to go. It's kind of nice to have someone to talk about it, with someone who's not involved in it on a day-to-day level, and
yeah.
sort of realise that we're kind of doing the right thing and we're going in the right direction. But I do think it is really important, and and when we went through a rebranding a couple of years ago, we actually employed these people, spent quite a lot of, thousands of pounds with this people, who then came up with a design that I just didn't like, and actually Dan was brilliant, and he was like, don't worry about the money. If it's not right, it's not right, just sort of go with your gut. And I was like, I'm so sorry, I'll
Mm,
walk away and do something completely different. But yeah, I do think it's important to keep having that external conversation, because I think you can't rest on your laurels, and it's also, they bring ideas and experience from other brands, which I think is always really
mm,
interesting. um,
yeah.
and our guy who does our digital marketing for us, he's brilliant because he works with some great other brands, and he'll be like, well, I tried this with them and it works really well, and so we're like, okay, let's do it, um, just to keep it fresh, really.
So do you, so your social platforms are managed by an agency
No,
that,
so our no, socially, I did outsource it probably about 5 years ago, but it was just really hard because, with social, it's so, instant, and if
mm,
you have someone else who's doing it for you, who's not really there the whole time or seeing what's happening in the
yeah.
office, or just sort of, it just didn't work for me. No, I need to do it myself, but I was feeling slightly overwhelmed by taking the task on myself. And then actually I did, and it was fine, although I think my husband was going to divorce me. So like, get off the phone. I was like, but it's work, because it does take up a lot of time.
Yeah, and it's an important part of getting your, like you say, getting your message out there
Yeah,
and getting eyes on your business as well. So
yeah.
do you still do all of that
No,
yourself?
luckily I have lovely Lucy, who's in the office, who does all our marketing now, who basically does all of the social media, and we work on the marketing side together. And she's doing a brilliant job. So it's great because I can just sort of feel totally confident in her. She knows exactly,
Yeah.
completely on brand. The message is always brilliant.
So in terms of marketing then,
Yeah,
what does that look like in terms of you going into the office one day?
yeah.
Do you have sit down meetings every week and to discuss the trajectory of what you're talking about? What does that kind of
Yeah,
look
I
like?
wish it was slightly more organised. We do try and be organised. We sat down today and said, right, what have we got to do? And actually sort of came away going, oh, we've got so much to do. But it's all good. It's all exciting stuff that's sort of coming out. But yeah, so Lucy and I sort of sit down on a weekly basis and go through sort of the marketing side. I still do all the sort of new product development. So because that's the sort of stuff I love. And then we look
Mm.
at marketing partnerships and working out sort of other brands that we'd maybe like to collaborate with, and just check on stock levels and where we are in terms of all the new products and the marketing calendar and newsletters that we want to go out. And
How far out in advance do you plan your marketing calendar or content calendar?
theory, I'd love to say we plan it 6 months in advance, but we're kind of at the moment we're sort of slightly, because so much has been going on, we've been slightly more hand to mouth, because it's literally just changing at the moment the whole time what we sort of the messages we want to get.
Yeah.
But generally, we try to plan it sort of 6 months to a year. I mean, the year, the sort of the last 6 months of that year are very sort of loose in terms of what we're doing. But in terms of product development, we try and stick to it a bit more. I
Mm.
am always a bit more sort of a bit more laissez-faire. The office girls in the office sitting me down and going, Chloe, we must get it in. You've got 6 months, and so which is good because I need a little bit of reining in and a bit more sort of just to get things done. But no, so we sort of, for any new product, I sort of say allow really a year from start to finish.
Wow.
Yeah, because it just takes time, getting the products right. I don't want to launch something if it doesn't work, or if the
Yeah.
smell's not quite right. So there's always a lot of going back and forth. And then, with our little bee, we've used Susanna Taylor, who is a Grazia economist, who's an amazing illustrator and journalist. And so she, it's sort of liaising with her about all the illustrations, and it just takes time. So but yeah, with the marketing, but we sort of do try and sort of get 2 newsletters out a month. And but yeah, and we try to plan what we're talking about in the newsletters. But obviously, as I said, it varies depending on what's going on in the world, really.
You have to roll with whatever's going on, especially right now. Have you found, I mean, obviously you're juggling your business with home life and homeschooling. How's that been for you so far?
Yeah, bit of a nightmare, really. Yeah, it's quite hard. So I've got a nearly 9-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 5-year-old. So they're all at different stages at school, reception, year 12 and year 4. And so they're all having to do different things. So I actually felt completely overwhelmed before Easter with it all. And I sort of thought, do you know what? I'm just going to go with the private school holidays and extend the holidays out.
Well, good idea. But before all this happened, then what would a typical day in the life look like for you? Like, what kind of time do you get up in the morning? What are your kind of routine things that you do each day for work and for life and getting kids to school and things like
Yeah,
that?
so I would get up about sort of 6:45, sort of try and shower before the sort of kids are up and down, and get them all ready. I have to leave quite early to get to school because they like to be the first ones in the playground, which actually works quite well in my favour, because it means I don't have that get your shoes on. They literally just
Yeah.
um, then get to the office sort of just for sort of 9. On Mondays, we sort of have a catch-up meeting at 10. I sort of Skype call with Dan, who's based in London, and the rest of us in the office, go through all the sort of plans for the week or for the next month. And then, yeah, mine is generally sort of catching up on where we are with all the new product development, and sitting down with Lucy and going through all the sort of the social media, the marketing calendar plan. Um, And then once a month, I'd sort of check in with my the guy who makes my products and all our new products. So I'd go and have a meeting in Somerset with him, and then get back for the 3:30 school pickup.
And then do you switch off from work after school pickup, or do you do work in the evenings as well from your
No,
laptop?
generally I try not to, because also by the time it gets to by the time we put the children down and that's like 8, then I cook supper. By the time then it's like 8:30, 9 o'clock, and I'm just too tired.
It sounds like product development is quite a major aspect of your business. Are you always working on that? Is there always something in the works for you?
Yeah, there always seems to be something new. So obviously recently it's been the Little Bee, the children's range. I'm working on a couple of other really exciting bits and pieces as well. I don't know if I can tell you about really.
Oh, well, that sounds really exciting, and it's something that people can keep an eye out for
Yes,
anyway.
exactly.
Any hints or anything?
So one involves a really sort of big hotel sort of group that we work with. So that's
Ooh.
exciting, but I can't really say anymore. And then the rest is just new product development. Is just basically, I think it's taking. Hopefully, it will take us to the sort of the next level.
Do you have plans to grow your B2C, customer base in terms of your e-commerce store? And do you want to put more time in it? Because I know you said that the percentages of where your business is 60%
Yeah.
is more wholesale. Is the e-commerce side to customers is something that you're looking to grow?
Oh no, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'd love to see that grow, and we're lucky in that it is growing, and I think especially now people are sort of looking online and they're looking for treats, and I think our price point
Mm,
is something that you can almost sort of treat yourself, but also you don't feel too guilty because it's not like we're not like Joe Malone prices or anything.
yeah.
Equally, it's a good sort of gifting price point. Um, so no, so we're definitely trying to grow that more, and we're doing a lot of sort of paid search and sort of SEO and pay per click and all that,
Mm,
which I think's really important. Um, and obviously, our margins are best from selling direct to the customers. So
yes.
it's definitely something we want to grow, and actually it's something I really enjoy because I have every order that comes into the business comes to my email, so I get to see all the orders, which I just love. Um,
Oh,
because you know how they say, don't they, when you order from a small business, someone does a happy dance. That's kind of me.
yes.
Every time I see an order, I'm just like, oh my god, I can't believe it's just brilliant. And I sometimes look around the office warehouse and just think, gosh, I can't believe, I'm so lucky in that people obviously love what I do.
So in terms of like the logistics of your e-commerce store, what do you use Shopify? Is that the
Yes,
platform
we
you
do.
use?
We use Shopify, which actually, I mean, we have a guy who basically, I mentioned him earlier, Ben. He basically is an external digital marketing agency. Well, it's not really an agency, it's sort of him, and he doesn't want to be called an agency, so he'll hate that when he hears what I've said that. Him and his team, so they basically manage the sort of behind the scenes and all the SEO and yeah, all of that sort of side of things, and they send out newsletters for us, and if ever there's an issue, we can just go, hey Ben, can you sort this out? And he actually has been brilliant, and he sort of came about because he actually approached us about 2 years ago, but it was just at that point where I was thinking, oh god, we really need, I don't understand SEO, pay per click.
Yeah.
I don't really want to I don't really want to get into all that nitty gritty. It's not, my mind doesn't work that way. Um,
Mm,
and it's so analytical.
yeah.
Um, and so he basically, an email popped in saying, "Hi, I do this, and I've worked for these guys." And I was just like, "Oh my god, yeah, brilliant!" So met
Savior.
him, and that was 2 years ago, and it's sort of grown from strength to strength, really. And I completely trust him, and he kind of gets it. And
So he manages all the technical side in terms of Shopify and loading new products that
well,
you might
actually, no,
have.
and also he's done it. He's actually he created it so that actually we can do quite a lot of that. So he's trained
That's
us up
great.
on how to do that. So we can put all of the new products on, and there were just certain, glitchy things that he helps us with. But in theory, when he designed it and redid it for us, we did say, look, we want it to be, because I think the website we had before, we had to always get someone to do it for us. And actually, that's so limiting in that you can't just like last Thursday, just before Easter, I was like, let's put Digby, the dog wash. We've got it in stock. Let's just put it on the website and see what happens. So we could literally do that at 3:30 on Thursday because Lucy knew how to do it. So we just did it. So no, it was really important that we could, and that's why I think Shopify is great because you have that accessibility and the ease to do it and self. And then also we've got add-on things. So we do like a loyalty program. We've done some subscription stuff, and that's all through Shopify and the add-ons that you can get through them.
Oh, right, that's great.
Yeah.
So you make use of all the extensions that you can get from
Yes.
Shopify. What about your email platform? Do you use the one that's in Shopify, or
No,
have
we
you got a
used
separate
to
one?
use MailChimp, and then MailChimp, can't remember what happened. Oh, I think MailChimp and Shopify fell out, and Shopify basically we're not working with MailChimp anymore. So we now work with someone called
Klaviyo?
Klaviyo, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like one of the great matches of all time is Shopify and Klaviyo.
Yep. I mean, it's amazing. I love what Ben can do with that. I mean, literally, we'll be like, right, can you tell us who ordered that? And then we want to send an email just to them, and he can do it, and with Shopify as well, you can do so many different discounts or percentage or amount or free delivery or offers, or I think it's just brilliant. It's really, really easy to use, and yeah, I definitely recommend it.
So with your email marketing, what have you seen has been like a real success for you? I mean, have you like implemented abandoned cart sequences and things like that?
Yep, so we have abandoned cart, which works really well actually. Yeah, because Shopify tells you all the percentages and stuff of all of that. I think, yeah, it does work really well. We've also sort of implemented an automated email journey for the customer. So if you signed up to our newsletter but you haven't ordered, we sort of send you these sort of gentle sort of discount emails, like 10% off, you're welcome, this is a little bit more about Bramley, and that works really well. And then all the just the journey, it's just so important.
Yeah.
For me, it's really important to get our tone of voice across in a really nice, friendly way. So I've written all of the emails that you get through when you've ordered, and all of that sort of all comes from my voice, and it's just really nice that you can do all that.
And do you see a correlation with when you send a newsletter out and an uplift in sales?
Yeah, I mean, it's not rocket science, is it? But it's sometimes, even if we don't, put in a shop now, or with just a general chatty email about what's new and stuff, you still see people, just maybe just because you've sent it and said hi, they just basically will place their normal order and just order, some hand wash or something. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely. I mean, I always said that I wasn't going to send, when people were signing up, it was always sort of to the newsletter. I was always sort of wanted to say that we're not going to bombard you with boring emails that you're just going to, chuck in your delete, not even look at. And I think it's really hard to get that balance because obviously, they work. You send an letter and an email out, and you do see an uplift in sales. So it's about getting that balance right. I think it's about talking to people about stuff they want to hear, and not becoming boring and just like like some emails you get. Some companies just email you every day and literally just delete it until you get to the point where you're like probably quarantined, where you literally go through and just unsubscribe from everyone. But so I think it's really important to find that balance.
Have you seen like a difference in terms of when you use images in your emails?
Yeah, I mean, we tend to try and keep it sort of quite a good balance, because I think sometimes too many words, people just sort of do switch off. And if we're putting an offer in, we generally try and even if it's coming towards the end, we sort of make sure it's in the subject line so that people know there's an offer in there. We did a really good, one of our best ones, actually, we did, which was thought up by our guys who'd, I think, worked on something similar with another of their clients, was a scratch card. And that literally was amazing. I mean, you basically got an offer off the website, but yeah, every time you scratch, you got an offer. That was amazing. And then also at Christmas, we do the 10 days of Christmas, where we do a different offer each day in the first 10 days of Christmas, and that does phenomenally well as well.
Gangbusters. Yeah,
they just love it.
Have you subscribed to the Black Friday fiesta that goes on?
Such a hard one. Yeah, I mean, I did when I sort of, 7, 8 years ago, I did, did an offer because we didn't really, I don't think we did the 10 days of Christmas then. The problem we have is that obviously Black Friday is generally around the end of, the last Friday in November, which sometimes falls like almost like the 28th, 30th, 29th. And then we go straight into, on the 1st of December, into our 10 days of Christmas. So it just is almost too much. So,
Yes.
so what we've actually done in the last couple of years is we sort of, and you kind of don't want to sort of be, because we are, I'd say, an ethical brand, we don't want to sort of buy into that sort of Americanization, I guess, isn't it?
No.
But equally, we are a company and we don't want to miss out, So we generally, I think we've just been doing free delivery, which generally goes down really well. People love free delivery, and it's kind of an easy one to do. And then have like a couple of days off and then go straight into our 10 days of Christmas, which is just crazy offers. So yeah, I mean, I think it's important not, like Gap or whatever it is, you just basically now only buy something when it's on a discount. So you have
Yes.
to be sort of careful as well that you're not constantly discounting and that maybe you're
Discounting.
adding value as opposed to so that's kind of what we try and do as well. And at the moment, we're just doing free delivery for the foreseeable future because that just kind of helps everyone.
Other companies that inspire you in what you do, who would you say is doing a great job in terms of ethical marketing or even natural products and things like that? Who would you say to kind of keep an eye on at the moment, do you think?
I think Ren's always quite an interesting one, and who's in our industry, in the sort of beauty world. They're always sort of challenging. I mean, for us, for me, it's really about sort of keeping the packaging, is making sure we're as sort of eco-friendly as we can be. So all our mail orders go out in, FSC accredited box, or it's recycled where recycled card, and then we have tissue paper in there that you can color in afterwards, or you can give it yourself or give it to a child. It's basically trying to keep ahead and keep it and seeing what other people are doing, and I think Ren are doing a really good job on that. So I mean, we're looking at our bottles and seeing if we can get some post-consumer recycled product into the bottles, even though they are sort of, the plastic is made from sugarcane, is a bio. So that's constant, and they seem to be doing like a really sort of forward-thinking, good job on that.
So people who are listening to this who either are just starting out creating something, in e-commerce or something like that, or maybe they've got an idea, what would you say to them to help inspire them to keep going, to maybe get their product started? What would be your advice to former
I
you?
would say just go for it, really. I mean, I think especially for women as well, I think it's really important just to sort of kind of follow your dreams a bit, because otherwise you can sort of get stuck. And I think especially people who've sort of mothers, who've had children and are looking to do something else, that potentially they can't go back to the jobs that they had in their sort of previous life before children. I say just, literally go for it, and just start off slowly. Don't try and do too much too soon, and just try and do it around your life, and don't put crazy amount of money into it, but just kind of just try and do it slowly and surely. And if you can, I mean, I don't know, there's sort of pros and cons, but I kind of think in the beginning I would have liked to have sort of had a business partner, like another girl to bounce ideas off.
Yeah, and to share the journey with.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I know that doesn't always work out that well, so I don't know. I haven't had that journey, but I kind of sometimes think it would have been nice to have had bouncing ideas off. But I just think don't let anything. Life is too short, frankly, to hold back off doing something just because you're not sure. Like try things like the market. That for me was a really good springboard. Just going around all these markets. It cost me, I think, £20 or £10 to have the stall, and it was just great meeting people, and you meet other people who are doing similar things or different things, and then you sort of get ideas from them. And I think Instagram is really good in this sort of day and age for getting relationships going. I mean, I sort of got in touch with Molly Mahon, who's a block print maker, who we collaborated on a wash bag and an eye mask for Bramley. So she created her own print for us, and now she's doing great guns. She's doing all these amazing potato print workshops for block printing on during the
Wow.
quarantine. And that was all through Instagram and, a potter that we've worked with. I mean, there's just so much you can do nowadays. There's so much network. And actually, even if you are on your own, then I think if you did tap into that Instagram sort of
Yeah.
network, you wouldn't feel on your own, really. You sort of
Yeah.
become part of a community.
So you feel collaborations is a good way forward for getting your message out there?
I do. I think it's a really good idea to get your message out there, but also just to, and just sort of building up relationships with other brands and people who are doing similar things to you. I think is really important as well, because then you can share your journeys and discuss what, whether Shopify is good enough, or whether you've got a good photographer, or all of that. I think it's really important. Yeah, definitely.
I just want to say thank you so much for joining me for this. Where can people find you if they want to know more about Bramley?
They can find us on our website, which is bramleyproducts.co.uk, or in any of your good hotels or pubs near you, hopefully.
Well, thanks very much for joining me.
Okay, thank you.
You've been listening to the Business of Universal Kindness podcast with me, Sarah Henson. If you enjoyed the show, then please subscribe and leave a review so that more people can find it and join us on this journey. Find the show notes and more episodes of this podcast at sarahhenson.co.uk/podcast. Music is by Studios On It from Audio Jungle.